Hello and welcome to True Hope Cast, the official podcast of True Hope Canada, where we take a deep dive into mental health's many physiological and psychological aspects. This is the show for you if you're looking for motivation, inspiration, knowledge and solutions, and that's what we're all about here at True Hope Canada. And True Hope Canada is a mind and body based supplement company dedicated first and foremost to promoting brain and body health through non-invasive nutritional means. For more information about us, you can visit truehopecanada.com. Today, I welcome John Graham to the podcast. Now, John is a certified master trainer, speaker, and fitness professional with 15 years experience in the industry. His personal journey through training and competition exposed him to injuries, fueling his quest for optimized injury prevention and recovery methods. During this pursuit, he discovered the remarkable benefits of red light therapy while recovering from a knee injury. This led to the creation of Lumaflex, a game-changing, flexible, portable and waterproof panel providing convenient and efficient red light therapy treatment for individuals, including athletes. Today, we're going to be discussing red light therapy and its healing potential. Enjoy the show. Okay. All right, John, welcome to True Hope Cast. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you and what's going well?
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to share. The True Hope podcast is obviously, it's got a lot of followers. It's got a good audience. That's trust that you built with your community. And I appreciate being able to access that community and talk about my story, how I came upon light therapy and Lumaflex. So yeah, many thanks. We got a beautiful day in Miami. Lately, there's been some rain. Something very signature of Florida is like there's really heavy, almost like monsoon-like rain. And then it'll switch and then the sun comes out and everyone rushes to the beach and tries to get their tan. It's really, it's a great place, Miami. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful, lovely. Well, we're going to be discussing red light therapy today and its contribution towards healing the human body. And just as a kickoff, I wonder if you wouldn't mind just sharing a little bit more about who you are and what it is that you do.
So John Graham Harper, where does the story begin? I guess it starts in my early years, 11, 12, 13, around this age when I was very thin. I was a skinny boy, wasn't so good at sports, and I wasn't very confident. So I wanted to build that confidence and get, and obviously get a lot of validation for who I was and where, my place on the planet. So I went to the gym, started training, putting on that muscle. Muscle is kind of like, it's like armor, right? It's like, you're building confidence. And then I went deep into the fitness industry. And I started opening gyms. I was a competitive athlete for many years. But throughout that time as a competitive athlete, I was riddled with a lot of injuries. And through those injuries, I found red light therapy. And it was actually introduced to me by my wife. I had an amazing response to it. I was healed. It triggered my sort of interest as to what red light therapy was. So I went down the rabbit hole of light therapy and learned so much and learned enough to where I thought that the world was missing a product that was more suited to someone like me, that was active, that was on the go, that was moving. And and that's the birth of Lumaflex, how Lumaflex came about. But yeah, Lumaflex is sort of the, my personal pain story as a competitive athlete and how I was relieved of pain, how I was healed. And I kind of put all of that energy and that inspiration into a product, which brought about Lumaflex.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Just before we go into specifically what red light therapy is, I was just thinking, we were just talking off air in regards to people's current understanding, education about like what light is, what energy is, what frequency is. And I think a lot of people might remember from their biology class about how plants use light to, trap light within their leaves, and using glucose and carbon dioxide, they create energy, they create glucose in order for them to grow, to reproduce, to protect themselves. It's quite incredibly beautiful biological process. I think most people may be a little bit more aware of how plants use light, but obviously we are exposed to all sorts of different light all of the time. And I wonder if you wouldn't mind just kind of explaining us on kind of like a foundational level about how the human body interacts with different types of light.
Yeah, so light, you got to think of light, and the messages that I always speak about light, because it kind of can get a bit daunting when you have all these these scientists talk about it. What happens is the average person that can really benefit from understanding what light is and use red light, and all kinds of light, will sort of disassociate themselves with that information. They'll say, oh, it's, this is for the scientists, this is for the doctors, I'm going to go, this isn't for me. But I keep it very, very simple. And think of light and think of the sun as a multivitamin, right? And every different color of light is has a different response on our bodies, has a different, reacts to different cellular function. The mechanism is different. So red and infrared light and is the more prominent wavelengths of light that are used for healing. They're used for skin rejuvenation to boost collagen in your skin. That's where you see those LED masks, right, that are very popular now on TikTok. It's used for hair growth. I'm sure you've seen these helmets that you put on where you look like you're, about to turn into Iron Man, and it's just light that repairs the cells in your head to be able to grow hair. It boosts testosterone, it boosts your body's natural SPF. But where we really see benefit of light therapy and how it can really change the world is when we use it as a pain management solution. So red and infrared light, it comes from the sun. It's from the sun. So, a lot of people sort of, oh, this is some pseudoscience, and I don't know if I can trust this. When they look at a device that has red and infrared light, they think it's sort of, it's something different and something weird. It's not. It's just from the sun. It's from the sun. This is available to us. And the optimal time to get our red and infrared light is at sunrise and sunset. Here in Miami, we have really great sunrises and sunset. And the nanometers of light during that time, red and infrared light is available to us throughout the entire time of the day, but also harmful rays of light are prominent throughout the day, which also don't have much benefit to your skin if you're exposed long term, right? But sunrise, sunset, that's our red and infrared light. That's our optimal time to get red and infrared light. And that's when the light is at the right length to penetrate your skin and activate the mitochondria. We're human beings. We're made up of cells. We're made up of billions of cells. And, the driver, the engine, right? The powerhouse of the cell is the mitochondria. So the light is able to penetrate and activate that mitochondria and get your cell to do what it's supposed to do. So when light, the reaction it has, these mechanisms occur when the light comes into that mitochondria. So we get enhanced blood circulation, we get increased ATP, and then we get anti-inflammation. And anti-inflammation is where I really focus a lot of my talking and my preaching about red light, because if inflammation is that's everything bad that happens to our body, whether it be you're sore from a gym session, or you have a headache, or you have cancer. It's inflammation. And if we're able to supply, access treatment that is natural and non-invasive from the sun, right, put into a device that is a highly concentrated dose of red and infrared light, and we're able to decrease the body's inflammation, that is something that I hope everyone can readily try and use before they start using, drugs, or looking at surgery, or looking at more invasive means of treatment. You have access to a natural means of treatment that you can potentially be healed of your ailments, right? Your pain, your inflammation. So this is where I see red light therapy being, really making a big impact in the world and changing people's lives. But like I said, I want to make it very clear, like, it's not something to be scared about or to be, wary of. It's from the sun. Going outside and is the same. That's the same mechanism happens to our cells when we go outside and we enjoy sunlight. You'll see a lot of prominent doctors and biohackers and optimizers talk about the importance of just getting outside, of being outside first thing in the morning, 10 minutes, take a walk, and allow your eyes to access, natural light. And it's because of that. The light is extremely valuable to us. And I always tell people that, it should take precedence over, clean water or healthy food, regular exercise, better sleep. You should try to always make sure that you're getting your light vitamins. Like, I think probably what, I should start saying is calling them light vitamins, because then it kind of has the right trigger in people's minds where they say, oh yeah, vitamins are healthy. We need vitamins. This we already know. But yeah, that's sort of the, how you can see light. It's a vitamin. It's a vitamin that's out there that you can access at any time throughout the day.
I think it's important for people to recognize that, we now have the technology and the ability to understand what frequency red light is emitting. And then we're able to create technology to be able to mimic that, right? Because you might not be able to have access to red light from the sun every single day. Your schedule might not be able to facilitate that.
Exactly.
So
yes.
being able to use a research technology that's actually, it's not an alternative red light. It's exactly the same as it's coming from the sun. I've had a few conversations with people who can't quite wrap their head around the idea that we can actually create a piece of technology that's technically man-made and artificial, but it's mimicking the same rays of light that's coming from the sun.
That's
just
right.
because we physically can't see it, it's probably more difficult for people to understand. But once you're able to do that, then you're able to actually, at any kind of point in time, whether you are wanting to increase your exposure to the sun, or you're looking to reduce inflammation and sort out and help out your pain, you're technically, with a piece of technology, you're able to do that anytime during the day and at kind of your convenience.
That's right. Exactly. I mean, wow. I think I should have you as one of our spokespeople, and that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I mean, they're just the way people are right now, right? We're not in caveman times. We are creatures of light. We were born under the light. We would wake up when the sun rises, and our circadian rhythm would start, and we would go to sleep when the sun sets. And there was no blue light. We didn't have TVs, mobile phones, computers. We would have campfires, right? So this is our telling our body to wind down. So now that we're in concrete jungles, if you think about your daily life, if you really think about it, you say, I wake up, I don't go and open my door and put my head out and try to get the sunlight. Usually I turn on the light. That's the first thing I do. It's artificial light. I have my breakfast. I do my thing. I put on shoes so I'm not getting grounded, right? I'm going to get in my car. I'm going to drive to work. I get into an elevator. I go into my cubicle. You realize I'm not accessing actually much sunlight throughout the day, right? Because then the sun's, it's, about 5-6 o'clock when people get off work, maybe they go to the gym, or, they go to a yoga studio, or they go back home, and they're not really spending as much time out in the sun as we used to, back in the day in primal times when, that was I mean, that's why obviously we were so healthy back then, right? But of course there's other things, pollution, our exposure. There's so much EMS in the world right now. There's all these things that are creating inflammation, and we need to look at tools that are suited to our lifestyle to help us fight that inflammation, to help us stay healthy, right? And naturally stay healthy, right? There's a lot of options, obviously, that big pharma pushes out where you're able to just pop a pill and magic will happen. But, that leads down a very, very dark road. So, yeah, exactly like you said, it's about convenience. If you're able to have red and infrared light in your home, right, or use on the go, that's where you can access your light vitamins throughout the day as you need them.
Yeah, I think a lot of people might misunderstand the fact that living in houses, having these light bulbs everywhere is an incredibly unnatural state for our particular biological organism to be in. So it'd be great to just recommend for everyone to just be outside more. But again, not convenient. A lot of people might do that for a couple of weeks with the motivation of making a new change, but to do that in a long-term sustainable fashion where we know, well, I think over the last 4 years, if you don't know how important vitamin D is for you and how a vitamin D deficiency is a significant contributing factor to kind of all-cause mortality, then you've not really been paying attention in the last few years. So that's just one incredibly important factor. And again, not everyone has got the ability to go and spend 30 minutes outside once or twice a day to capture the quite specific sources of light that we actually need. That sunrise, that sundown light, which is so important for us, not just for vitamin D production, but for the ability to have our circadian rhythms intact, and to have our sleep on a good quality schedule. It's so unbelievably connected to kind of everything about being a human, being pain-free, having the right amounts of energy, etc., metabolism, digestion, all those things come into play. And I'd love it if you just talk a little specifically about like how red light can actually reduce inflammation and decrease people's pain, because so many people are suffering with inflammatory conditions and pain in general.
Yeah, that's right. It's so you got remember that the light actually doesn't heal you. The light just gives your cells energy to do their job to actually heal you. So your cells are just healing themselves. They're just lacking enough energy to do so. If you have chronic pain in your back, right? You've got arthritis, in your elbow, and your body's fighting inflammation throughout the whole day, right? You think you're a healthy person, but like you said, you're not getting outside as much, and you think that you're eating healthy or sleeping well, but you probably aren't. You just don't have enough energy to be able to address that chronic condition. So by giving light to that area, by giving your body red light, your body's inflammation drops, and it now has the energy that is needed for it to heal itself. So like the device that I've got, the Lumaflex, let me grab, okay, here we go. So the Lumaflex, as you can see, you see that, wow, it looks quite good on the screen there, doesn't it? So this is the device that I've created, where it's a targeted panel that you can aim at the pain. You can aim at that area where your cells need that energy to be able to recover, to be able to heal. And it's something that I see a lot of doctors in photobiomodulation, lots of scientists. Some of these scientists, they've devoted their entire lives to the understanding of photobiomodulation and how the body reacts to light, and they study it so well, and they're so passionate about communicating it. And where I see them give a lot of amazing case studies and testimonials from people is from chronic pain. It's just like pain that basically nothing can fix, that was once thought, okay, that's how you are, that's the situation you're in, you just got to deal with it. And after not even that long of a treatment, like it usually, what I've seen, for chronic pain, people with pain, like, since they're, I hurt my back in the college days, or, when I was playing ball, that's sort of like 10, 20 year time, when someone's been dealing with pain. I've seen like 2 weeks to a month, them finding relief. And I've seen devices used that like aren't even 100th of the power of mine, that have actually brought about amazing pain relief. And it's all down to the person. It's all down to how they react to light. They themselves, as a healthy person, are they well hydrated? Are they just as their genetics even? And it all is different to every case. A lot of people have asked me, like, what's the treatment time for this condition and this condition and this condition? And it's always, every photobiomodulation doctor will always give you sort of a rough amount of where you can start to see relief, because it's based on every individual. Everybody's different. I always say, like, we as humans, we have like a battery. You think of us as we have a battery inside us, right? And there's clinical research has shown that after about 20 minutes of a full dose of red light, like if you're in a bed, or if you have a large panel and you're able to get like a good 20-minute dose, that usually, like for the average human being, it fills up that battery. But everyone's battery depletes different. Everyone has inflammation that they're dealing with that is different, and everyone is at different ages, or they're everyone's different. I mean, like I always say, it's the greatest human resources are differences, but it also just means that you can't really regulate a set protocol for everyone. So everyone's battery will deplete at different times. Some people will need to do a 20-minute session every day, to find relief of their chronic pain. Others will need to do it like twice a day or 3 times a day, depending on what their body's dealing with. But basically, if you're looking at a full dose, it's about 20 minutes kind of tops up your battery. But you can imagine someone who's like, is dealing with cancer, their battery is going to deplete very quickly, right? So they're going to be thinking, oh, it didn't work. It just means that your body needs more energy. Like there's a lot going on that you need to solve, that you need to fix, and your body needs more energy. So you can have another session of 20 minutes, maybe even have a third session before going to bed. And then let's do that for 2 weeks to a month. And then we can look at, where you stand with your pain, what pain rating you are. I usually give, people a chart, 1 to 10, give me your pain rating at the beginning. And then we say, okay, let's just keep an eye on this pain rating, 1 to 10, let's see how you feel. After 2 weeks, do 4 times a day. If you need to, you can go down to 3 or 2. But like I said before, where I want to encourage everyone to use light therapy, not just as, even if you're pain free, light is something you need, just like you need, clean water, you need healthy food, regular exercise and deep sleep. You need light every day. So when people transition from having a pain condition, and then they become pain free, I always say, keep using that light, and I tell them for the device, even if it's a different device, like it's a device that you have some whatever device, but my device in particular, I say it's good to be on the heart, right? It's a very important, organ in the body that you need that needs light. You can put it on the forehead, right? For your brain. You can put on your neck, right? For your spine. And then you can put on your gut, which is like your second brain. So just talking about my device in particular, we can, go into nanometers. So my device, I've got the LEDs here. This is a dual chip. So you mentioned earlier about different, wavelengths of light. So within red and infrared light, it's a spectrum. So the LEDs that are programmed into this LED, the two LEDs, the 2 nanometers, are 630 for red light, and then 850 for infrared light. So these go into your body at different depths, right? Red light doesn't go as deep, so you can't really expect, chronic pain relief with red light. You need a deeper wavelength to go into the body to be able to get to the joints, get to the, the deep muscle. So that's infrared light. So 630, that's where we see a lot of surface level benefit. Like if I used to be a boxer, and sometimes you get a little roughed up in sparring, and you get a little bit of a bruising. Red light can address that. Again, like for women, for their masks, these beauty masks, to boost collagen, red light can help produce collagen in your skin. But infrared light is the benefit we see is going deep into the body, and that's where we see relief from chronic pain. So if anyone's out there, if you're looking at you want to access this treatment, you want to be able to see the benefits of red and infrared light, you want to get on the light train, as I say, look for a device for pain relief. You got to look for infrared. You got to look for a deeper nanometer, right? So that's like 700 plus, right? And there's a device out there on the market now. I would love to shine a light on, because I greatly admire and respect this scientist. But it's a device for the brain, and this device, it goes onto your forehead, and then it has a complementary device for your gut. And the nanometers that she has in the brain go as deep as 1,070 nanometers. So that's where we're really going deep into the brain. And the scientist who created this device, it's called the Sarah Thrive. Her name is Sarah Turner. She's from London. And her passion is to use light therapy for the brain, and eventually to have it be used as a remedy for brain diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, autism. And her device, it uses frequencies of red and infrared light, and it's programmed to match the outcome that you want. And it's a very well-known device. She's a big name in photobiomodulation. She does lots of speaking, and has done a lot of clinical research herself. But if you look at a device like that, that's very medical. Nanometers going as deep as 1,070. I think in her device there's also 850. There's also 950. There's I think there's 850 and then 630. So she has like 3 different kinds of infrared light in her device. Whereas the Lumaflex, the portable, more for pain relief for the body, that's just has that one, the 850. So different nanometers of light go basically different depths and can promise, different outcomes. That's kind of how it works.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that explanation. I think that really gives people like a really good visual idea about how this device, how this light is actually affecting the body. And just as you were talking there at the beginning about about pain, I really think that having conversations like this and having technologies available like the one that you're talking about is going to start changing people's perception about like what pain is, rather than this thing that we need to stop. It's going to become this thing that we can actually like listen to and recognize it, and recognize that the body is creating this sensation of pain to give us a message that specific areas of our body require attention, whether that is like something that's physical or even something psychosomatic potentially. But I think changing that idea about like what pain is within the body will start helping people think a little bit differently in regards to how they might treat it or go about even just like thinking about what their pain means. There are certainly there's certainly a place for like, topical products or, pain relief, they certainly have their place, but looking for a long-term solution for any type of pain or discomfort, whether that's like physical pain, psychological pain, it's very important that we're looking at like, what's our body need foundationally? And clearly light deficiency chronically is going to cause problems going forward, when that could technically, I guess, turn up in anywhere on the body. You could have pain in your foot, you could have pain in your upper spine with something like light deficiency. And we have so many amazing people on the podcast, and yourself included in that, John, that it always comes around to kind of deficiencies and lack. And our flagship product here at True Hope Canada is a broad spectrum micronutrient formula, one of the world's most researched products, and it's addressing significant deficiency in a way that we've used specific, unique, patented technology that we're able to actually get minerals through the blood-brain barrier into the brain, working into cells, into actually affecting the DNA as well, because they're micronized so well that we're able to cross these unique barriers and affect the body in a very deep manner. Just like you're talking about these wavelengths actually getting into areas that are so deep that there's no way like a topical balm could get to that. There's no way like an aspirin could actually get into that area to actually positively affect it. And when you're able to deal with these deficiencies that a lot of people have probably dealt with for decades, that they've never really recognized or dealt with, once you're actually doing that on a daily basis, people see, and I'm sure you can talk to this in a second, about how quickly people feel better. With our product, with Empower Plus, people within days, sometimes even hours, their brain has just not had quality minerals for years.
That's fantastic.
Boom, they take this product, and immediately the body's like, oh my God, thank you so much for like giving me these ingredients that I need to heal you. I'm sure the light therapy that you're talking about works in a similar fashion.
That's right. It's exactly like you said. It's it's not the wise route to go and look for a sort of a remedy that just addresses the problem short term. You're looking, what is it that I'm missing? What is it that my body needs? What is it that me as a primal human being should be having? And when you start looking at treatments like that, they're very, very safe. They're natural. They're non-invasive. These are things that we should access just as human beings. And it's amazing, the response. It's like you said, your body's like, oh, thank you so much. Finally, just what I needed. I've had some amazing stories. I've had people tell me like, it was a miracle I met you. It's very impactful when you hear, comments like that, or people that have, dealt with pain for so many years. And that, like, the problem that I had with my folks is, with my mother and father, they sometimes just get used to it. After so many years, you're just like, oh, this is what I have to deal with. It's my cross to bear. They don't really sort of even approach the idea that, no, I mean, I think if we looked into this and we actually did some research and we tried, some of these natural treatments, you might have no pain. I mean, can you imagine that? It's just, I see this sometimes in people's minds where they get so used to having the pain that they almost like just put it out of their mind that it is something that can go away, right? That's always really frustrating for me when I'm dealing with different kinds of, people that I talk about light therapy. It's kind of changing their mindset. Like you don't have to have the pain, it can go away. Trust me,
Yeah, I think we've kind of been programmed a little bit by conventional medicine to think of our body in quite reductionist sectional thinking. Like I think of like, I've got wrist pain, rather than thinking, okay, I've actually got body pain. And rather than just like isolating my wrist and thinking about that and going to see my doctor and then seeing a wrist specialist, you can actually look at the broader thing and see what's actually going on for your body. Because I can guarantee for people who certainly experience autoimmune conditions, whether that's like in the skin with rashes or they feel pain, like a lot of that can be put towards like dehydration, chronic lack of light, chronic mineral deficiency, chronic vitamin deficiency. Like you address these like super foundational things, and then so many things remedy very, very fast, because the body is obviously unbelievably complex and beautiful, and it can deal with these things for you, given the right ingredients that you actually provide.
Yes. Oh, wow. Music to my ears. I think your audience would greatly appreciate this insight, like what you're saying. Like talking about chronic dehydration, like in the US, if you go and you want to buy water, you like, I just want water, spring water, mineral water, like regular water, like water as it should be. Everywhere it's distilled. Everything's distilled, right? And you're like, where did this, who started this? It's in the US, it's really, just like you said, mineral deficient, chronically hydrated. You're like, yeah, no wonder, because everyone drinks, right? And then when they go to drink water, they're not drinking real water. The food here is like everything's in a packet. If you want to, it's a really like sometimes I'm like, why doesn't people like do something about this? But yeah.
But not everybody has a profound thing that happens in their life that usually directs them down like a more like natural way of thinking, and it's usually this big, huge aha moment that you have. You had that experience. I've had that in my life that led me towards studying nutrition, learning all sorts of things about my experience with food, nutrition, and all of those things. But not everybody kind of has that moment, and not everybody thinks about like maybe the 3 coffees that I have every day and the 3 beers I have and the 1 glass of water I have a day. Like maybe I'm just unbelievably chronically dehydrated. Perhaps I'm just like fueling myself purely through like processed sugar, and maybe my body's not dealing with that particularly very well. And maybe those headaches I have all the time and the sleep quality I have maybe got something to do with that. And then, I practiced nutrition for many years, and my initial consultation was like a 2-hour session.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd have people just talk to me about like everything in regards to like nutrition in your body in the last like 10, 20 years, as far back as you can possibly remember.
Wow.
And people start answering their own questions because they start figuring these things out. It's like, clearly like 3 coffees a day isn't very good for me. And people start having a little bit more clarity around that type of thinking. And it's great that we're able to have these conversations that might spark a little bit of inspiration with somebody to maybe challenge themselves to make some good changes.
Yeah, that's right. And you just need, like something I say sometimes when, if I have the opportunity to get up on stage and I talk, usually how I end the talk is because usually I'm speaking to an informed audience. I'm speaking to people that know everything. They're like, yes, ooh, and I'm like, well, let's, because I love the way you getting your client to talk, like you're getting them to give information, and then they start answering their own questions. That's a great trick, because if you're able to do strategies like this and package information, knowledge, tips in the way that can resonate and kind of can trigger a change, that's actually, in my opinion, it's the truest expression of intelligence. When you have a very intelligent person that is, high and lofty, but he doesn't know how to package information to say, look, I know this is a mouthful. I know everything, it's hard to catch up all that I'm saying, but today, just do this one thing, and they give you an action plan, that you can slowly, these bite-sized pieces, that you can take action. That I really like when I see someone sort of be able to communicate their knowledge, how they know to do something, but they can quickly get the reaction of change in someone else, instead of them just listening, wow, that's amazing, and then they go off and nothing happens, right? That's sort of what that's a great strategy, where you can kind of get them to pull information, like to talk, and then say, well, look, I think, you figured out the problem there. You can kind of see, what's going on, right? that's a good strategy right there.
Yeah, we're really good at creating kind of like linear neuro pathways, and when we start thinking about things a little bit differently, then we start obviously sparking these new ones, and that can just like turn into a whole new ball game for a lot of people when it comes to realizing that things that they're doing in their life aren't serving them, and some very easy, sometimes very free strategies can have like really big, profound effects for them. Then that can just be that could be their aha moment, and then from there on, they're they are technically a completely different person, which is just really cool to see.
That's right.
You meant, was it, sorry, is it Sarah Turning from the UK?
Yes, I would love to connect you with her because she would be a great guest for the podcast too, because you guys are both involved in brain. You could talk together. I think it'd be a great episode.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you about, in regards to like, because you're clearly in the in this red light therapy space, and I wanted to know like what is there's been some like really great groundbreaking research in using this product for, let's say pain relief.
Oh yes, like pain relief. Pain relief is kind of like that was all well and clinically researched quite a number of years ago. Like where red infrared light started was like NASA, right? Like they were using it to try to grow plants in space or something, and then they realized it was healing abrasions on their hands. So then it went into medical for wound healing, and then that's where the beauty space kind of opened up. And now it's you see pro athletes using it with the big beds where they kind of get these full high dose contraptions that can fully alleviate them in recovery from training or from a game. And now it's kind of becoming more mainstream with biohackers and everyone sort of endorsing different products. But as far as clinical research goes, I have access to different globally used files and Excels where clinical research is uploaded all the time. And for pain relief, it's endless. I could send you literally thousands of studies on pain management, pain relief. But what's really interesting in the whole light therapy area, what's taking a lot of attention now, or what people are very excited about, is the brain space and what it can potentially do for the brain. Something that is, if we're talking about clinical research, something that I've personally really liked when it came out, when it was published. There was an article. It was about the unfair advantage of red light therapy in competitive sports. And when you see an article like this published in a medical journal, you're like this changes the story. It completely flips it up on its head, because basically what it was saying was, we need to look at light therapy almost in the same way as we look at performance enhancing drugs. Like in the laboratory, if you have team A and team B, and team A is all using light therapy before the game, on a cellular level, they have a very strong advantage over team B. So it needs to all be widely understood and widely used and accepted, and everyone needs to use it for it to be fair. And that's kind of I was like, wow, like you got people that are saying, oh, can this cure me? Is it? And I'm like, well, yeah, the pain management and as a solution for recovery and an injury, that's already in use. Now what we're looking at in the sport world is actually using it to boost performance as a almost as like an enhancer. But yeah, again, when it comes to clinical research, I think the most exciting space to look at is the brain, and what the studies are coming out now. I think every day I see on my feed something for cancer, or like some very terminal disease, like it's in these testing trials now, where potentially in 5 years, I would say, we could be looking at a remedy for some very terminal diseases in the future. Dare I say, we have to be careful, because even though Lumaflex, we're FDA class 2, we can't make claims. That's the thing. We have to always be very careful about. I can't say red light therapy will cure this. I can't say that as running a company. But if you talk to a scientist who has no company, there and they've been devoted their lives to it, they'll just shout to the hills. They're like, yes, it can do this, it can do this, it can do this, because they've, that like that. How are you going to sue them, right? You're gonna, whereas with a company, we always have to be very careful with claims.
We're super familiar in Canada in regards to what you can and can't say, especially around natural health products. Health Canada, literally censors truthful government health information. Like we've got 35 peer-reviewed medical journals about how our product can support things like PTSD, autism, depression, bipolar. But Health Canada deems it illegal for us, or not illegal. We're not allowed to share that information with people, which is just, Health Canada has its own agenda, which we could certainly get into. But
so frustrating.
Super frustrating because there are options for people out there who maybe don't want to turn to a pharmaceutical drug, which is likely not going to support them in the long term.
That's right.
So that's a whole conversation we could.
Yeah, there's really definitely sometimes I get really frustrated because you see like the system, sometimes it works for you, sometimes you find like a, sort of a loophole, or you find sort of a gray area, but then it backfires and you're like, wait, why is this so hard? You can kind of see the way it's been created to where, which obviously, in photobiomodulation, all of us, pretty much everyone who has a red light therapy brand or product, we all do know each other. We're all like, hey. And as a collective, we, our job is just to raise awareness. Like our job is just to, promote it, endorse it, get, just keep raising awareness. And then eventually it's sort of, the tides will change, I believe.
Well, you have to, as an organization, as a movement there, you certainly have to stick together because you're going up against an absolute Goliath. And
that's right.
Again, in the last 4 years, if our governments, if our health authorities really cared about our health, we would have been told to go outside and exercise, take vitamin D supplements, like super, super easy, cheap solutions to staying healthy. So if you're somebody who is, relying on the government and health authorities to come and help and change you, it's never going to happen. So, working with someone like yourself and listening to conversations like this really empowers you to recognize that there are options for you out there. There are solutions without question, but ultimately it's going to come down to you. It's going to come down to like how you want to change and how you want to be in the world. Do you want to be a pain-free 80-year-old that's able to exercise the way you did when you were 50? Because that is certainly something that you can do. One of my primary motivations as a dad is I want to be able to play with my kids' kids and maybe my kids' kids' kids, like when I'm 80, 90, 100, whatever that might be. And that's my motivation now, to making good decisions and opening my mind up to listening to different podcasts to learn more about what else can I do to enhance my ability. And you were talking about using red light to optimize performance within athletes and sports. I think the general people can certainly take that as well. Like, why not be an optimal human being just in every day? Like, you can certainly use that. You don't have to be an athlete to want to live optimally, and then even beyond that. So it's a really great space to be in, and we live in an amazing time.
Thank you. Wow. Such wise words, music to my ears. You made my day. I really appreciate that. Lots of great knowledge bombs that you shared out there. Me on a personal level, just the day that I've been going, the day that I've had today, it's at a high point. I really appreciate that. It's great.
Thank you so much, John. Well, just before we finish up, can you let us know where people can connect with you and learn more about yourself and your product?
So lumaflex.com, Luma light, flex as in flexible, because it's a flexible panel that you can shape to joints and muscles. That's my website. And then for me, you could just do John Graham Fitness on IG. I'm quite active there because we have a lot of great athletes and ambassadors and doctors and biohackers that endorse the product online. So I usually stay in touch with them on IG. But reach out anytime. I love difficult questions. And I appreciate anyone who wants to share anything. Ask me anything. I love it.
Awesome, John. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Simon. Really appreciate it. I really had a great chat. It's nice to meet someone like-minded because I feel like I've learned so much from you, right? It's wonderful.
Beautiful. Yeah, I share that sentiment for sure. Well, that is it for this episode of True Hope Cast, the official podcast of True Hope Canada. I'm going to make sure there's lots of information in the show notes for you so you can connect with John. I'm going to try and find some good quality research papers to share with you as well. You can leave us a review on iTunes and a review on Spotify if you fancy it. But other than that, see you next week.